I can last a month and a half to 2 months on a book buying ban, that'll be good for me. I'm looking at you. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Court. Today we are here to discuss the 19 books I read in the month of June. Yeah, that's right, 19. That's a pretty big number. Before we get into the books that I read this month, we are going to go over the goals, where I'm at for this year, and my stats for the month. Like always, we're going to just jump right in, get the ball rolling, because we have so many books to talk about. Out of the 19 books I read 5,168 pages, and I had a 3.58 average rating, which is a normal rating. That's like pretty standard for me, and for 19 books, 3.58 is pretty good. I am not mad at that at all. Would I have liked higher? Yes, but it's okay. I'm not mad at that at all, and there's always next month. I liked a lot of the books I read. I didn't like some of the books I read. That's okay. You have some good ones, you have some bad ones, you win some, you lose some. I also want to mention that I did pick 7 books for my June TBR, and I ended up reading 4 of them. So about the same as last month, I think. So again, not all of them, but I did make a pretty good chunk of the physical TBR read in the month of June. I'm not mad at this number. It's more than half. We're going to continue to try and push for a monthly TBR where I read all of the books. It just didn't happen, unfortunately. Some of the books I'm excited to read at the beginning of the month, and then middle of the month comes or the end of the month comes, and I simply don't want to read them anymore. So that happens. But one of these months, it will happen. Moving into the formats that I read the books, I read lots of audio. I was an audio fiend and a Kindle fiend in the month of June. I read 10 audiobooks. I read 8 on my Kindle. And I only read 1 physical book. And that 1 physical book, I spent the entire month of June reading. That's okay. That's okay. We got some off of our physical TBR, that's all that mattered. That's all that matters. But I found some good books. I reread some good books. It's okay. I just needed an audio heavy month. We went from a physical heavy month to an audio heavy month. Maybe this next month we'll go back to a physical heavy month. Me staring at my physical TBR. Hope so. For the genres I read in the month of June, 9 were thrillers. I had a thriller heavy month as well, which will make sense in a second when we go over the books, why there were so many thrillers, but there was 9 thrillers. There was a lot of thrillers this month. That's okay. I needed to get back in my thriller era. This is a summer thriller era for me, and June was just the start. I also read 4 romances, 4 dystopian books, 1 nonfiction, and 1 fantasy. And finally, before we get into the books that I have sitting right here beside me to talk about, I do want to check in with my goals that I've made so far this year. I set my goal for 100 books to read. I talk about this all the time. I talked more in depth about this in my mid-year wrap-up if you want to check that out. But I set my goal for 100. I knew I would hit it early, but I don't want to worry about it. And I also want to make sure I read 100 books, because I'm usually around 150 to 200. If I hit a reading slump, it could be less. So 100 is a good goal for me, and at the end of June, I hit 98 books. I also didn't want to set it too high because I wanted to focus on slowing down this year and finding more quality reads over quantity. So 100 was the goal. But at the end of June, I did hit 98. So in July, we will be hitting, I've already hit it, my 100 book goal. I did read a nonfiction book in the month of July, so that makes 4 out of the 10 that I had for my goal this year. That's pretty exciting. Nonfiction can be memoirs, biographies, true crime, any of the sort. I have read 4 out of the 10 that I had on my goal this year. 1 was in the month of June. Off of my physical TBR, the 30% that I wanted to read, 30% from my beginning TBR, so my TBR backlist, basically. I have read 30 out of the 89 books at the end of June. We are slowly moving along. I think we're going to hit this goal this year, and that makes me really excited because this is a goal that I really, really wanted to hit. I did read a few books off of my 25 for 2025, so now my total read for my 2025 is 13 out of 25. We are slowly making headway on that as well. very, very exciting. And I did also read my 112 Rec from 12 Friends that I read every month. So we are halfway done with this goal because I read one a month and I have not missed a month yet. So we are halfway through and I am so excited to hit this goal. Every book has been read each month and I'm finding some really good ones, and I have found new series that I've enjoyed too. The final goal I want to discuss is the summer TBR book total that I've read. I ended up reading a few more off of my spring TBR in the month. Did I say summer? I meant spring. I want to talk about my spring TBR book total because I ended that in June. I ended up reading a few off of my spring TBR in June, so I hit a total of 14 out of the 34 I picked off my physical TBR and new releases for my spring TBR. TBR for the seasons are suggestions to get into the season. So I didn't expect to read all 34, but it's nice that I read 14 out of the TBR that I made, and it really got me in the season, and I'm excited to continue this throughout the seasons this year. It made me really excited, and seeing that I read 14 off of it when a majority of it was my physical TBR, exciting. Now let's get into the 19 books that I read in the month of June. I have 8 here physically, and the others I'll just put a picture up on the screen because I don't have them physically. I am putting myself on a book buying ban. You heard it here. That does not include pre-orders. If you see me get a pre-order, that's pre-ordered. I already bought it, but I need to be on a book buying ban. We'll see how long it lasts. Hopefully till my birthday. My birthday's at the beginning of September. If I can last a month and a half to 2 months on a book buying ban, that'll be good for me. I'm looking at you. So that is why I only have 8. So we're going to talk about those first, and then we'll get into the ones that I don't have. Starting off strong, we're going to talk about my rereads that I did in the month of June. I reread the entirety of everything Suzanne Collins wrote in The Hunger Games that was already out before Sunrise on the Reaping. So I reread. These are my 10-year-old copies as well, like from when I was 10 years old. I'll show you in a second because I have notes in these books from when I was 10. I started with The Hunger Games, obviously. This is a 5-star book. It is so nostalgic and I loved every second of reading this. I did reread all of these on audio. Nostalgia. The audio is very, very good if you're looking to reread these. I highly suggest the audio. I had such a good time. The audios are also fairly short because these are YA books. I had such a good time. I really, really loved being back in this world, even though it's terrible what's happening to these people, but it got me really, really excited to read Sunrise on the Reaping, and it helped make the connections when I finally did it. So I read Hunger Games first, 5 stars. Then my favorite, Catching Fire. Absolutely adore this book. It hasn't changed. I will forever love this book specifically. I don't know what it is about Catching Fire itself, but this book is different than the other two, and I stand by that. This book is so good. This is also a 5-star, my original favorite of the original trilogy, and probably always will be. I absolutely adore this book. I love how much deeper it gets into the world. Also listen to this on audio. Then we have Mockingjay. I also listened to this. This is 5 stars as well. The original trilogy, if it's anything outside of 5 stars, who are you? What are you doing? What did you read? Because I don't think we read the same thing. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm serious. These books are so nostalgic. They made my entire week that I read all of these. Here is 11, 12-year-old Courtney's notes for what she thought was going to happen in the Mockingjay and her thoughts and opinions. This was annotating back in the day. I listened to this as well. Had such a good time. 5 stars. Finally, I listened to The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This gets a 4-star from me. It doesn't hit like the original trilogy. I was expecting a little bit more. I think it's just because I don't like snow. But there's something different about this than the original trilogy that just doesn't hit the same. I did enjoy rereading it. I enjoyed catching everything again that matches with the original trilogy, and I was excited for what was to come with Sunrise on the Reaping. And when I did read Sunrise, what I caught from this book that was important for reading Sunrise. I really, really enjoyed this book, and the audio, once again, was really, really good. I had such a good time. This was my first time ever listening to the audios of these books, and I think it's going to become a new thing that I do, is rereading these, and sometimes I'll listen to the audio because now I have the audiobooks and they were just simply very, very good. So those are the first 4 books that I read in the month of June. Then I read Someone Knows by Vi Keeland. This was an ARC copy that I got from Atria. This came out on June 17th. This is a thriller. I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. I was going to give this book a higher rating until the epilogue came along. The epilogue took a different twist and added another twist on top of a twist that I didn't see coming and that I didn't really enjoy. I preferred the original twist to the book, and I thought it would be much better and more satisfied with the ending. However, this is a paranoid, you feel like you're twisting and turning. It is a very good, feel like you have to watch over your shoulder thriller. I enjoyed it. It's very fast paced. I read it in a day. I did listen to the audio. The audio was very good. I didn't want to stop listening because up until the epilogue, I was invested. I wanted to know what happened, but then the epilogue hit and it kind of fell flat for me. So 3.5 stars. Then I read a book on my TBR, Tell Me Lies by Carola Lovering. I ended up listening to this one as well. I used my Spotify hours to listen to this book because, first of all, I want to watch the show. I've heard really, really great things about the show, but I've also heard that the show kind of takes a different turn than the book. This book is so drama filled. This had me in a chokehold for a few days when I was listening to the book. I didn't want to stop, but I also needed to take breaks because of the sheer, gruesomeness of the details in this book and what happens to these people and how narcissistic this man is. This is a toxic relationship. This is about Lucy Albright. When she goes to college, she meets this man named Stephen DeMarco. He is charming, attractive, complicated, and devastating. He's also a raging narcissist. I need you to know that I have seen narcissism with my own eyes, but hearing it from a narcissist point of view, because you get his point of view, some of the most insane things I have ever read in a book. This book left me speechless, shocked, sick to my stomach. The amount of emotions this book pulled out of me. I have a coworker that is obsessed with the show, and I kept talking to her about this. She ended up reading the book as well, and I kept talking to her about this book because I just needed a break from actually physically reading it to come back to reality, because this is not escapism. Do not go into this book thinking it is escapism. This is gruesome, gory. Please check the trigger warnings. If you do not think that you have trigger warnings, I didn't either. But this book pulled several, I needed to catch my breath from this book. That's the only way I know how to put it. This book is so gruesome. I don't know if I'll ever be able to reread this book because of Stephen's point of view. Crazy. Literally, this book is insane, but I can't wait to watch the show. I ended up giving this, did I tell you what I gave this? I gave this 3.5 stars because I can't justify giving this anymore because of Stephen's personality, but I did have a good time learning more about a narcissistic personality and how Lucy kept falling into the trap, but also what happened to her later in the book. I don't want to spoil it, but how she grew throughout the book. Check it out if you think that this is something that you'd be interested in, but again, you've been warned. This is not escapism. The next book I read is also a TBR book. Somebody clap. Literally every single one of you should be clapping right now. I finally did it. I finally finished Flawless after DNFing it twice before. This book still only gets 2 stars. I'm so sorry. If you love this book, I love that for you. And I hope that you still love this book. And I'm so glad you love it. And please don't take my review personally, because this is not targeted at you. This is targeted at the characters in this book. This was 2 stars. I could not vibe with the characters. I don't know if it's a me problem. I don't know if it's the character's issue. Rhett was supposed to be like a grumpy bull rider, right? Summer was supposed to be like the agent's daughter, cool babysitter for this grumpy man, right? She didn't do anything for herself. She would not take matters into her own hands that was outside of work. Even sometimes she wouldn't do it then. And Rhett was supposed to be grumpy. No, he was just simply mean. Rude. Literally so rude for no reason when Summer was kind, patient, all of the things. It also felt kind of insta-lovey to me, but it kind of wasn't. I'm just used to a more slow burn. Not sure. But this one specifically wasn't for me, and I think it was because of the characters. I ended up listening to this on audio because that's the only way I could get through it, and I bumped it up to 3 times speed just so I could get through it. Hate to say it, but I hope the rest of the series is better than this one. And the final book that I read in the month of June is actually in this reading vlog. So if you haven't seen that reading vlog and want to see my full thoughts and reactions to this book, go ahead and watch that reading vlog, because the last book I read that I have in physical format was Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This was my book club's book in the month of June. This is a 5-star book. This is the physical book that I took all month to read. I had absolutely the best time reading this, taking my time with it, annotating it, just immersing myself in the story and with these characters. If you don't know what this story is about, it follows our 3 main female characters who all turn into vampires. They are toxic lesbian vampires. You first follow Sabine, who is, let me get their years right. She is from 1532, then Charlotte, who is from 1837, and lastly Alice from 2019. And you just follow along how they all intertwine and become toxic, messy, and are consumed by this hunger and are all buried in the midnight soil. If you haven't read this book, you don't get that metaphor, but if you have, you get that metaphor. And I said it in the reading vlog, but the metaphors in this book and the way the midnight soil and the hunger itself felt like an actual character made this book 10 times better. The in-depth character growths or character downfalls made this book so good. V.E. Schwab knows how to write time periods and separate in-depth characters that I could pinpoint which character was which without even needing to know whose point of view we were in. I'm so glad we got all 3 types of point of views, and I'm really glad that we got to see this span over several centuries, because it really added several elements. This is a masterpiece. If you haven't picked it up, please do yourself a favor. It's one of my favorite reads of the year. Now getting into the books I don't own. The first book I read is 1 in 4 by Lucinda Berry. I ended up giving this a 3 stars. It is another thriller. I don't remember a lot about this book other than there is a really big overall lesson and deeper meaning. It kind of strays from our initial conflict and plot line a little bit, but I still enjoyed overall the lesson and the plot line as a whole throughout the book. I just wish that it wasn't so much zigzag. We have mysterious elements. You are following several different point of views. One of them is a unknown character, but overall this book just feels very twisty turny, and there was a lot of pop culture references that continually took me out of the book and made it not feel much like a thriller and more like a suspenseful drama. Next, I read Winging It With You by Chip Pons. This also came out in the month of June. This came out June 10th. This is the cutest romance. I gave this 4 stars. I listened to this on audio as well. These 2 are actually going on a Amazing Race type game show together, but no one knows that they're actually fake dating. I thought this premise was so cute. The game show and the in-depth details of the game were so thought out, so precise. I absolutely loved that part of the book. The romance was also really good. The side characters made the book for me. They were amazing. The main characters felt really fleshed out as well, but I wanted a little bit more from them as well. A little bit more depth to them and their relationship. Overall, I had such a fun time with this book, and I love everything that Chip Pons writes. So I will be reading his next book that comes out, whenever that is, but this is his most recent release, and I absolutely loved every second of it. Next, I read another thriller. Riley Sager's new book, With a Vengeance, came out. This is a murder mystery on a train, and I love those types of books. Like an Agatha Christie type book, yeah. I give this a 3.5. I had a really good time reading it. I believe I read this fairly quickly as well, but there was something lacking that I wanted more of. This is definitely one of my favorite Riley Sager novels. I just felt the ending a little too predictable for me, unfortunately, and I wanted a little bit more of this mystery fleshed out so it wasn't so predictable. The next 6 books I'm going to talk about are also all thrillers, and I also read all of these on my Kindle. This is part of the Amazon short stories that came out recently that are all thrillers by various authors that are under 100 pages or around 100 pages each. They're very short reads. The first one is Death Row by Frida McFadden. Garden, which I gave 3 stars. The next is The Ex-Wives Club by Sally Hepworth. I gave that 2 stars. Then False Note by David Lagerkrantz, I believe. I gave that 2.5 stars. Then The Skydivers by Chris Bohannon. I gave 3.5 stars. Then The Good Neighbors by Chad Zunker, I gave 3 stars. And finally, Small Things by Wanda M. Morris, I also gave 3 stars. So overall, this is around a 2.5, 3-star average as a whole, more closer to probably 3. My favorite was definitely Skydivers. If you asked me which ones to read and which ones not to read, I would tell you I really enjoyed Good Neighbors and I really enjoyed The Skydivers. Those held my attention the most and also felt like more unique stories. I also really liked Frida's book, but it felt like something I had read before. These are all available on Amazon. I believe they're all on Kindle Unlimited, and you also get the audio if you do have Kindle Unlimited. They are very, very short reads though. One of them is like 30 pages, I think. I had a good time with them, but they were nothing revolutionary. The next book I'm going to talk about is my one nonfiction book that I read, and that is Words from the Window Seat by Taylor Tippett. This book is phenomenal and it found me at the right time. This is Taylor's story about kindness and just her project where she started writing little notes in the back of the seat or taping it to the window of a plane and posting it so people would find these words of joy and maybe take it for themselves and feel happier, or find it in the back of the plane seat when they come on the plane and feel a little bit of joy. This book is so sweet. Taylor's words really, really spoke to me, and I saved so many quotes on my phone from this book. It found me at the perfect time because the lessons felt like a big sister that I never had, and I truly, truly loved every single one of the different chapter sections and how much they just iterated to spread kindness and the stories of her growing up and experiencing life and how kindness goes a long way and how it just kind of changed her life. It was so interesting. It was such a unique and different take on a memoir type book, but it had so many good lessons in it and I absolutely adored reading it. I highly recommend. It's one of those books that was right time, right book. I absolutely adored it. I do not rate nonfiction or memoir type books, but this one knocked it out of the park. And our final book to talk about is my 12 rec from 12 friends for the month of June, and that is The Predator by Runex. This was my first ever mafia romance book, and I had a great time. I gave this a 4 stars. I read it on my Kindle. These are all on Kindle Unlimited, I believe, if you want to check them out. I am going to be continuing this series very, very soon. I am interested in the inner workings and what other characters the books are going to follow. I had a good time. This is the first in the Dark Verse series by Runex. There are several other books out in this series right now. Basically, our female main character is the daughter of this mob boss guy, and our male main character is kind of like the brawn or hitman or like adopted son, all of the above, of the opposing mafia in town, mob boss in town. And she tries to go in and get under his skin and get these codes that she needs. I'm explaining this terribly because she thinks that he stole them from her or he had somebody steal them from her. Little does she know that he's literally like this force of nature. That's why they call him the Predator. I'm very excited to continue this series. I had such a good time. Perfect experience for my first mafia book. Will be continuing the series. And that wraps up all 19 books I read in the month of June. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below your favorite book of the month of June. Mine was definitely Very Rare Bones. What else would it be? I also really enjoyed doing my reread, but these are the books. I'm holding this really, really strange. So comment below your favorite book of the month of June. If you want to find me anywhere else on the internet, all my socials are linked in the description below. I'm gonna drop these, and I'll hopefully see you guys in my next video real soon. Bye guys.